The following program is a production of Pioneer Public Television.
Hello and welcome to Compass, a new production from Pioneer Public Television. I'm Les Heen, your host for Compass. This is a weekly discussion of public policy and important issues facing our viewing area. This week, a look at the school week debate. There's a debate between 4-day school weeks and 5-day school weeks. We'll discuss which models are having success in rural areas and how some schools have had to make a switch back to an old method despite their success. First, we have the story of how the McRae School District has taken the 4-day school week model and found not only advantages, but an unexpected amount of community support behind their efforts. Across the region, there have been schools that have tried and not tried or failed the 4-day model. McRae is one where it's worked. Why has their switch succeeded and others haven't? Here's a report from Pioneer's Laura K. Prosser.
In May of 2014, we had received a letter from MDE saying that the 14-15 school year was our transitional year, preparing us for moving back to the 5-day week this school year, 15-16. And we had a difficult time with that and just accepting the fact that what has been working for McRae for now being the 8th year, at that time, last year was our 7th year, and we just didn't want to accept that, and so we asked the opportunity to visit with the commissioner, and we did that in June, and just asked for some more background and information as to why it was necessary that we do. And it kind of revolved around test scores, but we feel that we are doing what we need to do as well as what the other districts are doing. We're always striving to provide the best for our students, and we're doing that under the 4-day week. It was really a grassroots effort. We contacted our legislators and our senators and our representatives and asked if we could get their support for local control is what it really came down to, is our school districts and our school boards, our elected officials, and working with the administration and the staff and the communities, that our district is different than other districts in the state, and the other districts in the state should be allowed to really do what they feel is in the best interest of their students for their area and their demographics as a whole.
This grassroots effort, simply put, was started because of the community support of the 4-day school week and the McRae School District as a whole. In fact, 92% of the consolidated district's constituents were in favor of continuing the 4-day program.
Well, for most of us that are in education, that's how we grew up with a 5-day, but our kids have pretty much gone their career in a 4-day. So we've really gotten into routine with the 4-day, so that's what they're comfortable with, that's what they are used to. If we go back to the 5-day, there's a couple changes that would take place. First of all, if we have to take money in our programs now and reallocate it to fund the 5 days, and most of the savings is going to come out of transportation and utilities. Well, if we have to pay, though, that money is going to come out of our services that we give kids, whether it's teachers, and our class size will go higher, programs will get cut, or just some of the materials that we need. The other change is just our Mondays, and for whatever reason, our communities have really adopted to having Mondays off. The families, for the most part, love the 5 days. It gets to be a family day, a day to get things done, and so I think there'd be some changes monetarily, but also with their families too.
However, many concerns still arise when it comes to the level of education that is being provided and whether or not a 4-day week or a 5-day week provides a better caliber of teaching.
So there are currently, I believe, 6 of us that are still standing within the state of Minnesota operating on a 4-day week. We are grandfathered in until the end of the 2019-2020 school year. And what challenges that we are faced with, like every school in the state, is that you need to close that achievement gap, and we need to provide the best education, and so our students are meeting or exceeding the state's the tests and the MCAs in the spring of the year. And so each year we still have to make certain that we are under the world's best workforce, meeting academic growth and achievement levels for all of our students, and that is what we are being graded on across the state, regardless if you're in a 4 or 5 day school year.
McRae has seen success with their local control due to community support and a general acceptance of a 4-day week. But what schools can get away with this model and what schools can't?
When you look at the profile of schools that have done a 4-day and have become successful in a 4-day, we really fit that profile. First of all, I think it works best in a rural district. It works best in a district that's under 1,000, that has a big district, because busing is the big savings.
And the state has called this a money-saving experiment for a handful of districts. Well, that money-saving experiment proved to be correct. It did save the district a considerable amount of money and continues to save approximately $100,000 every year. And so what works for rural Minnesota may not very well work for the metro areas, the more highly populated areas. But with rural Minnesota, our 700 students in McRae are able to benefit by having Mondays off.
My wife is a teacher in another district, and I can tell when it gets Sunday afternoon, her mind is on teaching. She's getting ready for Monday. But boy, to me, it really is great family time on Sunday night and Monday if you don't have school.
With us now to talk about how local legislative representatives and others are working on this issue at the state level is a state senator from District 17, Lyle Kunin. And also joining us from the Sleepy Eye School District is John Chalovsky, who will talk about what sort of challenges schools face when they're forced to switch back and forth from the 4-day model. So, Superintendent Chalovsky and Senator Kunin, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thanks.
4-day week. Now, the story that we saw a moment ago was from McRae, based in Clara City in central Minnesota. And we should say, John, you're in Sleepy Eye right now, which is in south central Minnesota. And Senator Kunin, your district includes McRae. So, and you were at a school district that had this, so you're both very familiar with this issue in a personal way. John, I'd like to start, if you would, I may. You were in a school district that applied for this. Sleepy Eye applied for a 4-day week and was denied, right? Tell us about that.
Correct. Back in 2011, we looked at some funding issues initially because we had a failed referendum. Sleepy Eye is a divided town a little bit. We have a large, parochial school. So obviously, some of those citizens feel like they are paying for education. So, local operant levies are not that easy to go by. So we've been making reductions for the past 2 or 3 years. So at that point, we felt there's not more to cut. So unless some support comes from the state level, at that point in time, that was kind of tough to come by. So we said, what else could we do? So the 4-day week came up as a discussion. We attended the MSBA, the school board conference in January, and we looked at McRae's presentation. McRae did a nice job presenting to my board members. I also had some work with a 4-day week prior to being in Sleepy Eye, so I had some experience with that. So I said, I think it's a good option to take a look at, because I felt that savings about $80,000 to $100,000 is way worth the switch from 5 to 4. So at that point, after listening to McRae's, we went back and took a look at, is this going to be working for us or not? So we started research. Did the research, formed a committee, included a private school, so invited people from the St. Mary's to help with serving on the committee, and read some books. Did some site visits, went to McRae actually, and enjoyed McRae. Went to BBA, get great feedback from both communities as far as being on a 4-day week, and the benefits way outweighed some of the concerns that was raised. Because obviously, 4-day week has some great benefits, and also some people raised some concerns for against it as well too. But we did done our research before we took it to the public and presented our research, and that was really. I was very surprised how well the public attended. We had a great turnout for our meetings. We actually invited the former McRae superintendent to come and speak to our community members, and he did a great job as well too. So after our 3 public hearings, and all the research, we did a survey, see what people are thinking, and it was 74%. That's pretty strong in my opinion. A town of 3,500 or so was very in favor to move forward. So at that point in time, we put together an application and submitted them to the Minnesota Department of Education. So at that point, we thought, there was no school who were rejected at that point in time. So we thought, well, we had good support, strong support locally, local control, remember? And also, it was, the application I thought was good merit, and we were pretty much hopeful that it's going to be kind of like going to be pushed through just like application before us. Lo and behold, I received a letter, I think in March or so, and letter states that we are denied. First feeling was kind of upsetting, I'll be honest with you. I had, myself was upset, my board was very disappointed. My teachers were disappointed, and many of our community members were disappointed. And actually, we requested a hearing from the commissioner, and I drove up about, I think, 7 to 10 people to discuss the denial with her, and had a nice conversation. I mean, we agreed to disagree at the end. The commissioner had some good points. Myself and my community members who attended the hearing, we had some strong points, and we laid out our point of view as far as local control, what we think should be best for Sleepy Eye, should be best for Sleepy Eye. So that's where we left it, and we can go more details, but that's where we at this point in time.
And Senator Coonan, of course, because McRae is in your district, you've been working on this because, it was a new idea at one point, and people sort of liked it, they got used to it, and now my sense is that there's some people who are, say, well, gee, this seems to be working for us, why can't we keep doing it, right? That in short terms?
And that's what happened. And McRae, too, had been doing it for a number of years with good success. And then they had to reapply every 3 years, and just what they did, and then they were denied. And so that's what started all the stir then at that point, understandably. Yeah. And so then, the school board is held community meetings, and they called the legislators from the area, and including myself, to talk about it. And then we finally concluded that we probably have to introduce a bill on the subject, although that we did go and meet with the commissioner too, the same thing. Yep. And so, it was a number of meetings, and I know even for myself as a legislator, I met with the commissioner and the governor, and then some of the other staff at the department too, several times.
The Department of Education.
Yes, that's exactly. Yeah, and so McRae too, they were disappointed when that letter, the declining the extension happened. And the support from the surveys at McRae was up into the 90% support. And so it was very strong. The message was real clear to the school board, this is what we want.
So we have, obviously, a local control issue would be one way to frame this, which is an issue that you run into with a lot of things in education. Where should the state control stop, and where should local control kick in? And presumably there's a number of concerns about educational quality or educational outcomes. And I know at one point there was some discussion about the fact that of the schools that went to a 4-day week in Minnesota, roughly half of them had better test scores, if you use that as a metric, and about half of them did not, right? So, I mean, it was sort of mixed. There wasn't any sort of clear indication, at least from that small sample, that it was a better idea for kids or a worse idea for kids. It was sort of mixed, right?
It's a neutral. I believe exactly right. I think half the schools showed results, half didn't. I don't believe the 4-day week had to do anything with results. The purpose of a 4-day week initially was to save money. That was the true purpose. However, as we've done the research, we discovered that, kids will miss less time. They will take time on the Mondays or whatever days you designate as the day off, and absenteeism will go down. We believe teachers will have less absenteeism because they can take care of some of those details, dentist appointment, things like that on the off day. So that was truly great. What my teachers really advocated for is we can block our time better, because right now what we're struggling here is our math and reading blocks. We do like 67 minutes block, but we like to do more, and that extra hour or 5 minutes or so, that would have been great. So my teachers at the elementary side just absolutely loved the idea. The third point I want to raise is the PLCs, professional learning communities, that's really, the commissioner was strongly advocating for it, and I believe it's a great opportunity for teachers to get together, share their knowledge, and improve their skills to improve student achievement. That the time that we could set aside on those Mondays for professional development, all days, that was really just wonderful, and we didn't get that opportunity. So initially, as we went in there to save money. Yeah. After we done research, even some of the skeptics, some parents who serve on the committee, when they looked at the options, and they said, we're in this 4-day week that we're trying to do, but not for saving money anymore. We think it's really could work and really help improve our kids' performance. So that was really nice to see you going for one reason and you coming out for a whole different perspective on that.
Well, and we should add, too, that the 4-day week is not something that it was unique necessarily to these 8 or 10 districts. I mean, Pioneer has a lot of viewers in the eastern Dakotas and northwestern Iowa, and I know there are quite a few South Dakota school districts that have, at one point or another, had a 4-day week. And I mean, in many cases, I think it's been there longer than it has in the Minnesota schools, correct?
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
And I researched some of them because we actually, in Brown Lake Brewster, I started the first research on that. We actually invited some feedback from South Dakota schools, and the feedback was very positive. They really liked it. And Hawaii did a 4-day week initially, but they decided to go back against it, I think. But that's a statewide choice on that one. But usually, smaller schools in the rural areas, it's more effective because some of the concerns that come with 4-day week, as far as what kids are going to do on the off days, guess what? We know our kids in a town of 3,500, so we can control that issue better. The biggest issue that a commission raised against us is of not feeding the kids on the off day. So I have a mixed feeling about that because I think feeding kids really, school districts, we understand that, but parenting becomes an issue on that one too. So that was our concern on that.
And at McRae too, there was real concern about that Monday, especially early on with families that have very young children where they'd have to provide daycare for that day. But that problem, apparently each family addressed it right away, and that never was an issue. It just didn't come up. And another effect to that change that took place, it actually helped some families, not all. I mean, this is, a diverse community. In some cases, because of the longer day, the early start in the morning, the later ending time in the afternoon, that one of the parents could be home and as their children left for school, and then the other one would be home as they came home. So for some families, it actually took care of daycare issues for 4 days of the week then, just by the little longer day.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, because my sense from watching it from a bit of a distance is that there were a lot of concerns initially, but as you said, it seemed as if people adjusted, worked it out, and I know the phrase McRae Monday was sometimes used because of people who would, that was the day when the dentist's office were busy, or other sorts of things, because those things that people they wouldn't be taking kids out of school for that. They'd be scheduling on the day that they're not in school. Right. So those kinds of things.
And during that time, some of that time too, my sons were attending McRae at the time, and as for my family, we took advantage of that Monday. We did piano lessons on Mondays, guitar lessons on Mondays, scout meetings. A lot of that would happen on Mondays. 4-H meetings would happen on Monday. Yeah. So there's plenty. The young people nowadays are busy. There's there's not too much trouble to keep them busy on a Monday either. Right.
Yeah. And then I had a question from somebody one time about extracurricular activities and because that's the other piece is obviously practice times, sports times, or whatever the extracurriculars may be. Right. How was that addressed in the 4-day week, and were there concerns there going into it or moving away from it?
And at McRae, what happened was on Mondays the varsity teams would have practice, but the younger, the grade schools and a lot of times the 7th, 8th grade, they wouldn't. Mm-hmm. But another positive that happened at McRae, and we don't have a theater, so everything happens in the gym, everything, is that some of the students that were out for athletes couldn't. Before, it was hard to do the theater because they were off practicing who knows where while practice was going on. Well, now theater practice would happen on Mondays, and so these students involved in athletics could also be involved with.
That's a great point.
Right.
Sure, because some of this comes down to, you talked about that it was for financial reasons. Right. But so there's also some facility use reasons that also can play into it, it sounds like that.
Right. Yeah. Another thing that happened at McRae, and I think that probably most 4-day school districts, is that the face time between teachers and students actually increase with a 4-day week. And part of that's because teacher development happens on that Monday, and the class periods are longer, like you had mentioned. There's less time moving during the week now. There's less time moving between classes during school time. And so, there's advantages.
So let me just jump in here. So since there are obviously a lot of, positive support, as you said, in Sleepy Eye or Maynard, so then what are the critics saying? I mean, the people who don't like the 4-day week, why? What are the main things you've run into either in McRae or in Sleepy Eye or other places from the people who don't like the 4-day weeks? What are they telling you?
The interesting thing was, how could 5 be worse than 4? 4 can be better than 5. That was always I said, how could you get this done in 4 days? And as you mentioned, 4 days we had more instructional minutes. Right. And that's absolutely, we surprised ourselves when we looked at McRae's, and you get more time done in 4 days because, the modulation times, the passing times, the lunch times, you lose one. So that adds up and the minutes increases. That's really, it's simple math. People just say, I can't believe it.
So in other words, the transitional time during the day.
Yes.
Right. You have less transitional time and that gets moved into the class.
You have the same, but because they want one less day of that, that adds up for the rest of it. So we thought it's a no-brainer, to be honest with you. And I think if the community is not supporting it, I am okay because we don't want to go against the community's wishes. But in this case, we had support. 74% for a first time go into it. As you said, you have 90s. That's fine. We had 74 because we haven't done this yet. But I believe if we were get into it, people will like it. Mm-hmm. People still ask me as of today or may talk about it. Oh, I wish we had a 4-day week. Oh, I said, well, can't help you on that one.
So I realize, Lyle, it's always tough to predict legislative outcomes. But as we look ahead to the 2016 session, any thoughts on the future of the 4-day week?
Well, I think for now it's kind of quieted. I'm going to do a little editorial on local control. I wish that each school district had the authority to just decide that, period. I mean, I really do. But I think on a little bigger issue of local control, there may be some discussion on pre-Labor Day start again. Okay. But we'll see where that goes.
And I can chime in on that one because I'm one of the school districts. Sleepy Eye is right now Flexible Learning Year district. The past 6 years, were able to start earlier because we had an application in, and that has been wonderful. We started like August 20th, 22nd or so about 7 to 10 days earlier, and to be kind of like focus on the Labor Day weekend as well too, so to be conscientious of the Labor Day business as so-called, we took Friday off for Labor Day, so the parents have a Friday, one day, so 4 day off. So if they want to go to the state fair, by all means go, but it really, the extra 7 to 10 days up front, it's made a giant difference for our school. We were a needs improvement school back in 2010-11. Right now, Sleepy Eye Elementary, 3 times over reward school. Mm-hmm. So since we've been on the fly, that definitely made a difference, and also a blue ribbon school. So that is definitely came from needs improvement to this high. Right. Obviously, that's something I'm not sure if that's made a difference, but did not hurt to start early.
But getting to a closing question here, so we've got just a couple minutes left. Local control, 4-day week. 4-day week being one of just many local control sort of issues that come up. Looking ahead, 2016 session, you said 4-day week is quiet. So what about the rest of local control? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, my experience from my time in the legislature, local control is a topic that pops up almost every session. It's just there. It doesn't go away. And it's a big discussion because, does that local control, does that mean there's no state standards or requirements, or just what areas of education? I mean, it's a big topic. It really is. But in my experience, it comes up every session in some form or another. Right. Yeah.
And I'm okay with accountability. The state tells us this is what you need to achieve. It's fine. However, the means and ways we're going to get there, I think, should be left to locals. World Best Workforce is one of the things that I want to make sure the Department of Education should be kind of like a guidance versus kind of too much of a overseer. I think we need to separate that. It should be this. The schools could handle ourselves, but we don't want to have them to be a big stick. That's what we think on that one.
Great. On that note, Superintendent Schalowski and Senator Coonan, thank you for joining us on Compass. That's it for this week on Compass. Join us next week when we take a look at the issue of our soils and soil loss limitation and how some changes can help improve our soil. Thanks for watching.